Grace, go ahead and pick it up, which we've seen classed on the Grace before, so it shouldn't be a surprise at all that they're going to go ahead and lock this in.
I think that's an extremely risky thing to do, to give Grace over to the opponent when you could have picked it. But I think the reason why G2 are doing that is to go for a comp similar to what we saw from Mousesports with the Vox, Lance, and Fortress. And that's a strong enough comp to give away Grace if you're confident to pull it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other situation as well is Dr. Potato does love to take that Lance into the jungle, so it's not just the captain pick for this team. It's kind of a flex just because Dr. Potato is on the roster, so certainly a comfort pick. They are actually on the other side of the roster, though, so it was, in fact, SaltyPotatoes locking in that Lance first. Grace going to be the pickup for G2, and they're going to take away Kestrel.
For me, the Lance pick almost makes a little bit more sense for the fact that SaltyPotatoes take, because it is taking it away from G2, because both G2 has played it both in the jungle and in the captain position. It's still a risky pick to let the Grace go through, but it makes a little bit more sense.
Also, the Celeste ban makes a lot more sense, banning it away from Hundor as well, something that we know he loves to play. Black Feather locked in. This was a ban in the last series.
Yeah, it was a ban both games last series, but now it's through. I wonder well, G2 are picking it here as a flex pick. They can put it in the lane, they can put it in the jungle. They have the flexibility. It's going to depend on what SaltyPotatoes end up picking here. They still have the Vox Fortress available for them if they wanted to go for it. Are they confident enough to play that comp? We'll see.
Yeah, the other nice thing about the Black Feather is not only can you flex it into the lane of the jungle, you can also flex it either weapon or crystal. Rona going to be a pick here. This is a pick that I've been wanting to see Rona come back into the meta for a while now. I think she definitely holds a place, especially in these multiple melee compositions. Even if G2 takes a ranged carry for their third pick, they still have a double melee that Rona's going to be able to build up a lot of fortified health on.
And the Scarf going to be finished off as well to round out this composition, so you've got that long-range damage coming through from the little dragon himself. And now G2, how do we expect them to round out this one for themselves?
I feel like it would be great for them to round it out to make it a dive comp. They have the Black Feather, they have the Grace. Black Feather, while he's going up against the Lance, who's great at peeling, and SaltyPotato is going to be looking to protect the Scarf from the Black Feather that's going to be diving. Black Feather does have the tools to get through all the CC with his ultimate and get through to the back line. If he's able to do that with Grace healing him from the back line, they can do a lot of work. This Sky is a little bit, again, of a flex. It can be weapon lane and playing the CP Black Feather in the jungle, or they could play Sky jungle with CP and play the Black Feather in lane. I'm not sure which one is going to be. I would prefer to see it a weapon power Sky because it's such a great matchup against the Scarf. You can dance around his Spitfires and you can apply a lot of that lane pressure that we have been talking about, because Sky is one of the most dominant lane characters that you can have in the early game.
Yeah, incredibly good in those 1v1 situations. It's something we've actually seen Hundor play in the past as well. And, you know, when we talk about these mechanical players, Sky is one of those heroes that you can really abuse mechanics.
Another big strength of the Sky is the movement speed slow on the forward barrage. Rona is going to be trying to jump and run at you. If you are slowing her up, you know, she has the into the fray. If you're able to disengage from that, her re-engage is very poor if she's getting slowed up by a constant barrage from the Sky. So I actually really like this pickup into this composition.
Not only that, but the Sky, there has been changes to her in the last 2 updates where her passive works a little bit more smoothly now, where you can use the heroic perk to dance around the Spitfires, as we said, and get to the back line. Hundor is going to have a lot of pressure on him to perform on the Sky because I don't think without him they're going to be able to do much. I like G2's comp better. They have a lot of tools. They can execute to get to the back line, kill the Scarf, and they have Grace on their side too.
And now let's talk a little bit about, we don't have time to talk about anything else because it's time to jump on into this game. Hashtag Vainglory is how you can let us know who you're supporting at home. We want to know who the fan favorite is coming on into the second series of the season. But without further ado, let's pass it over to our casters and get on into this game.
Incredible G2 versus SaltyPotatoes, a amazing matchup to come after this Mouse Fnatic one. SaltyPotatoes is a team that rose up through the Challenger Series last season here, the Source, and it'll be really interesting to see how they've been spending their summer. They failed to qualify for the Unified Live Championships. G2 just about beat them to Los Angeles, but they've had a lot of time to kind of refine their style and look to try and get some serious points on the board.
Yeah, it's also a brand new update. There's a lot of ways you can play the game. So we'll see whether or not they can turn that into a victory, as last 2 games ended fairly convincingly. Maybe SaltyPotatoes can give G2 a solid run for their money.
Gonna be a bit of a fight here. Not quite landing that Impale class, but Hundor's taking a lot of damage on the left. Can't quite find the kill. Joker. It's gonna be sneaky, just looking to try and put the pressure down onto Kiana Nakoa. Dark Potato though has ran into the Joker and is looking to try and secure first blood, and he will! Finds it before losing his life to Sneaky, but the added bounty that he gets makes that also worth for G2.
Yeah, that first blood is all that matters, man. Got to get that the little extra bit of gold. There will be a little bit of a syscall that'll go over the other members of SaltyPotatoes. G2 kind of backed away from that, and we are starting to see this evolution of early fighting. You know, if you can get that nice level 2 off of all of that new experience that you're getting out of the jungle, all grouping up for that 2, maybe even a 3-man jungle, you can find some of these really early aggressive fights, and we'll see whether Dark Potato can kind of leverage that into a little bit more of an advantage. He's going back to the jungle, has started to farm up again, and maybe that spirals a little bit out of control, but would have been nice if he'd survived and been able to go back and start jungling.
Yes, it's going to be we're talking about the compositions here. Hundor playing what seems to be a CP Scarf in the lane. CP Sky. Sneaky on the Scarf, of course. And Sneaky on the Scarf, something a little bit unconventional, I think, that, you know, we just haven't really seen from Sneaky. He's known for his weapon power melee heroes and his Kestrel, his Vox as well. So very interesting times for SaltyPotatoes. This kind of shift in the meta. CP laners becoming a huge thing here in Vainglory. How will everyone react to it, and will they be successful as well?
Well, if you feel that you're a really strong mechanical player, you can do a lot with a Scarf. Scarf can thread in those auto attacks in between Spitfires, being able to land maximum range Spitfires and instantly putting a goot down on top of the target. Can really just lay in damage that people aren't expecting. So maybe Sneaky feels that there's a competitor, or maybe they have just made a huge change in how they think about the game and how they operate as a team.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly that as G2 pushing up into the lane. The Joker finishing off his front treant, going to be moving over to support his team in this turret push. Will they be able to do anything is the real question. They really rely on Class for his Impale, his CC to lock down a priority target like Hundor so they can try and burst him down. Currently, it's just not going to be the case. This Scarf very low on energy as well, which means that there can't really be a fight for SaltyPotatoes. They don't really have damage coming out of Sneaky.
Yeah, I'd be careful if I were Dark Potato. That is the Joker coming in, level up, and you know, it's a difficult fight if Dark Potato doesn't land every single on point.
Alright, so let's see. Now the jungle's intensified, how this changes up things. Both the Scarf and the Sky looking to kind of scale towards the late game. The changes to Sky a couple updates ago means that she's fairly strong in the late game when she locks onto a target, has increased damage, which means that if she goes towards a 4 damage item build, which we kind of see the CP laners now doing so, going to have a lot of extra power added to her kit. Dark Potato on this Blackfur as well, kind of becoming the flavor of the meta, it seems. Really good into squishy CP laners who are very vulnerable and want to build 4 damage items and can really assassinate them with his high mobility. Good Impale though comes out of Class, Githian War as well, but it's going to be shut down by Holy Nova. Kiana Nakoa just taking them all out. Damage has been traded. It's really Kiana Nakoa who takes the brute end of it all. And there's no fountains completed yet either at this 5-minute mark, though Class looking like he's going to rotate down to complete his.
Yeah, it does have the light spring, so we'll regen up as long as Kiana Nakoa can stay out of combat for a little while. Decent amount of trading. I am curious to see whether or not Dark Potato goes for the Serpent's Mask, gets the sustain, or maybe goes into a Star Blade, gets more of that upfront damage. We talked about the changes to 2.8. That value in kind of initial burst can really start to put pressure onto a target, although Class has finished out the Fountain. Kiana Nakoa has it now as well. So, you know, a little bit of that upfront damage will be reduced, and Frostburn out from Hundor, so we'll start to see those endless slows from Sky.
Yeah, no, as well as Scarp as well, and the Spitfire just provides so much CC in the form of high range, pokes people out, and really helps you kite as well as chase, which I think SaltyPotatoes are going to want with this Rona, the chase ability onto a single target. It's going to be very interesting to see the way these turrets are fought over. You know, Munchables mentioned it at the beginning of the broadcast, the changes on update 2.8. The turrets now having reduced health down 1,000, so it's very, very impactful. It allows for Scarf and his goop to really just burn through the turrets. Currently G2 struggling to hold on to their own. Some really impactful impales coming out of class onto Hundor, meaning that he's taken a huge chunk of damage already. Keanu and Co are not quite level 6 and won't be there for quite some time, meaning he can't heal via the Divine Intervention. And SaltyPotatoes looking like they just want to poke away at this turret. Although, you have to be careful. Here comes that death from above. The Joker in a lot of trouble. The heal comes out, but he gets executed by Dark Potato before the Fountain can heal him fully. That mistake comes out of SaltyPotatoes.
Yeah, and that's just the caliber of team that G2 is, at least when they are on point. Raki Zora was talking about how there is kind of that G2 that either shows up or doesn't. And, you know, if Dark Potato can kind of continue to perform and put significant pressure onto Joker, because it's difficult for them to go all the way into the backline and really get onto Sneaky unless they come in at a couple of different angles. If they're willing to just be able to burst through the Joker, then they kind of mitigate that threat of Rona just being able to sit there and spin to win on the
Oh no, look at this. This could be disastrous for G2. They've lost their turret. The gold miner does get secured by a Dark Potato, but the question is, can he survive? Hundle goes down on the other side of the map. Looks like Dark Potato will get away. A very adventurous play made by G2 where they really split everyone across the map. Does seem like they're going to lose a second turret for it as well. Look at how much damage comes out of Sneaky. The goop just under the turret. 2 turrets taken in just under a minute. G2 really losing a lot of map control with that move.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't prepared for how quickly they were going to take down that turret. I didn't think they'd be able to burn through it so quickly. So there's some solid damage out of Sneaky. Has that 2-item spike. Is going to be, you know, a significant threat within these team fights. But, you know, I wonder whether or not they're actually going to be able to put solid pressure onto him. So far, it's been very much a poke war, and because they did manage to get that gold miner, they've kind of kept the gold very, very even. They're only down by about 400, so they should be able to make the comeback. But you know, now they have to find that solid tower siege or maybe get a good fight in the jungle.
We'll have to see how G2 do kind of bounce back, because they already had what seemed like early leads. The gold is in SaltyPotatoes camp by just 1,000. Currently, Hundor looking like he's going to go towards a Clockwork as his 3rd item, so this kind of typical CPE laner build becoming the norm, even on Sky in the lane as SaltyPotatoes move on in. Class missing that Impale, going to take a little bit of poke, a lot of poke in fact, from both the Lance, the Impale, the On Point from Dark Potato, On Guard, however you wish to say it. On Point, of course, the correct ability name. Now G2 looking like they want to just pressure down. They're very scared, it seems, of Class and Sneaky. Healing Flask kind of just putting Class very quickly up to full HP, very close to it, and Joker seemingly very happy to dive on in. Impaled, blocked by a Crucible, but here comes the Dragon's Breath. Dark Potato trying to get away, Keanu and Nakoa trying to tank it all up. Death from above is going to trap Joker. It's going to take a bit of damage, but the Spitfire goop from Sneaky putting so much pressure onto Hundor. Dark Potato will go down. Will Hundor as well. He looks like he showered double for the Joker, and SaltyPotatoes have just taken over.
Yeah, Dark Potato got a little overconfident with that last Rose offensive. Probably thought that the goop was going to time out, but I think that extra bit of damage, even with the reflex block over it, not to get slowed, but just getting hit by that. And then just one more Spitfire from Sneaky. It's just getting very, very difficult for them to be anywhere within the Scar's effective range. And that's very, very dangerous, because if one Impale just catches you on the edge of it, Scar from well in the back line is going to be able to dish out that damage. And Sneaky's done a very good job of just constantly putting the goop in very, very key positions, in choke points, in places that, you know, the members of G2 have to move through. So it doesn't look like Keanu and Nakoa can really get into the back line or put any of that CC pressure down. It doesn't look like he can dive with Dark Potato, and Dark Potato's been kind of isolated throughout this. Yeah, also Hunter just, you know, kiting around the fight, but hasn't been able to dish out significant damage yet.
Yeah, currently we see that Echo coming out of Class, just knowing that he has to be the CC threat for his team, so can use the Echo to provide a double Giffian's War stun after an Impale, and that would just really shut down G2's escape abilities if Hundor was to be trapped in that CC all the side of SaltyPotatoes, Joker and Sneaky could just burst him right down. G2 need to be very careful about where they go, how they tread. You can see that they're doing their best to clear this wave, but every time that Spitfire connects, Hundor's in trouble. Crucible going to be used, but the Impale was missed, perhaps wasted, as the Joker is going to try and deal with Dark Potato on the back line here. Dark Potato taking a lot of damage. Dragon's Breath comes down. Dark Potato, he's in so much trouble. Can he escape is the question. No, gets taken on out by Class, and now G2 have to retreat. A great Impale onto Hundor here. Rest of the SaltyPotatoes focusing onto Keanu Nakoa. Hundor just getting free damage out. SaltyPotatoes have been kind of split, which means that both Keanu and Hundor should be able to escape.
Yeah, that last mortal wound stopped Dark Potato from healing up enough to be able to survive that fight through the Divine Intervention, and the Fountain just got bursted down, took so much damage from the red mist out from the Joker, and it's becoming really, really difficult for Dark Potato to survive the fight long enough. Now, survived that last fight for an incredibly long amount of time, dealt really great pressure despite, the initial amount of damage that was coming out from the side of SaltyPotatoes, but they really need to find a way to put the pressure onto Sneaky. Granted, there was a good Holy Nova to stop out the Dragon's Breath and reduce some of that damage. It's just getting harder and harder for G2 to really find the fight that they need. Maybe they can pull something off if they can bait them back further into their jungle, get the fight to slow down and be able to come at it from multiple angles. But as of right now, SaltyPotatoes is having a great game so far.
Yes, certainly are. G2 haven't quite hit this point of scaling where Hundor is a threat. Dark Potato being forced to invest heavily into his defensive item build. He already finished that Aegis before any other tier 3 item, and now working towards what will be an Atlas, you would assume, for the Joker. Perhaps even a metal jacket, considering it's a Rona, and she can kind of just use her red mist when she gets Atlas, so it'll be very interesting to see what Dark Potato does inside to do. Either way, until Hundor hits that broken myth, there's a lot of damage lacking on this Sky. Makes you wonder what this build means for late game Sky indeed, as SaltyPotatoes have cut off the escape. Hundor currently just trying to poke from over the wall here. G2 very wary that they can't really engage too heavily. Too much lockdown coming out of Class to protect Sneaky's life.
Yeah, Hundor did a pretty good job in that last engagement with this Holy Nova.
Yeah, really big. Joker's in a lot of trouble. Here comes the Fountain, here comes Sneaky. Dark Potato burning alive, but he's able to take down the Joker. Now looking to try and turn on to Sneaky. Sneaky rooted in place. Dark Potato gonna fall. It looks like Keanu may fall as well. Sneaky does go down. Keanu will fall, but Hundor, last man standing on the Halcyon fold, will find the ace for G2, and he's gonna push the lane up.
Finally managed to find a good fight. G2 is able to put some solid poke down before things really get rolling. We're able to play in some of those choke points where Hundor can get that forward barrage onto at least one target. It's pretty much guaranteed damage coming in, and maybe they can start to really build this comeback if that broken myth comes in soon. Does he have enough gold? No, he's short by about 200, but should be able to go in the jungle, pick that up. So the next fight going, that'll be a pretty much a full build, at least in terms of damage coming out from Hundor Sky.
Yeah, no, this is really crucial, and you can see rotates down to get the backs here, some ambient gold for himself so that he can finish that broken myth off, which he currently has the gold for. Does mean that infusions won't be completed for a little bit. The Kraken just about to spawn as well at this 14 and 52nd minute mark. Class just taking so much damage. Looks like they want to take out Clafton. That'll be an easy task for G2. Dark Potato able to continuously slow the on points, and Hundor as well with a forward barrage. A lot of chase potential from G2, and now with the Kraken spawning, they may just look to try and start this up.
Yeah, and despite the lack of success in the team fights, G2 did a reasonably good job of keeping up in terms of farm. Now, after that one team fight, getting all of those kills plus that additional pickoff, they're pretty much caught up. They'll be able to burn straight through this Kraken, and it's good for SaltyPotatoes not to even really consider the contest until Class is back up, and now they can, look for the defense. And Scarf will be pretty good on the defense, assuming they can, get the wall back any targets that try and dive on him, and really spend their time burning down the Kraken.
Major difference in builds between Sneaky and Hundor is that Sneaky has prioritized defense on this Scarf. You can see the Aegis has been completed for Sneaky, whereas Hundor just sitting on tier 1 boots and a reflex block, and that means that there's no broken myth for this Scarf, and we all know that Scarf becomes super impactful once he's got about 5 broken myth stacks. can use that Dragon's Breath to just tear through an enemy team. And that's just not going to happen for another 5 minutes, or it seems. And right now, SaltyPotatoes are falling apart. They just take down Classed without contest. This tier 2 turret under trouble as Dark Potato will dive towards Sneaky to try and find a kill. Divine Intervention to keep him nice and healthy, and Hundor's moving on in as well. Sneaky should lose his life here. Double Divine Intervention makes it so uneasy, and oh, the ace comes through as well. Hundor stacked on up to 9 broken myth stacks. G2 have just turned this game on its head. The choke point turret's gonna fall here, Source, and they're gonna look to try and finish.
I mean, they answer our lack of faith with a dominating series of kills, plays, and dives. Class is here. The death numbers are fairly low, so maybe they can make something happen here. They're going to use the death number buff to burn down the turret, and I don't think anything can save them now.
No, it looks like this Vein Crystal turret will be falling. Joker does his best. The red mist doesn't find enough blood, and it is going to be G2 taking home game 1 of this series. Hundor prioritizing damage over defense, perhaps the winning moment for G2, or maybe it's SaltyPotatoes becoming complacent in their lead. Either way, G2, former spring champions, showing that they are ready to come back into a series, and come back they did. Incredible stuff. Love to hear what